Next, ratify the agenda. Is there any changes to the agenda? I believe the city of Dickinson will not be here until next month, so we'll remove the four items that are for the city of Dickinson. Anything else? If there's no other changes, I'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
This? We've got, yes.
I move we approve the agenda as presented.
I guess we got one more.
With the omission of the city of Dickinson not being there.
We need to make one amendment to the agenda. We have a matter to discuss concerning our law enforcement center as far as repairs coming up, and we need to discuss a possible transfer of funds from our current fund into the LEC. So if we could put that on the agenda somewhere, it can be at the end, that'd be fine.
Yeah, you had IT for dispatch too, wasn't it? Dan?
Do we need to add this to our accounts payable?
Yes. But IT dispatch with City of Dickinson.
Oh, we did that, the contract.
Contract,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm sorry, you're right. Okay, and also in another addition, we need to discuss our IT contract with the city of Dickinson to handle our IT needs at the dispatch. And that can also go at the end of the meeting as well.
Okay, anything else? Look for a motion then to approve the agenda with those changes.
So moved.
A motion to have a second.
Second.
Have a second. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. And we have the minutes from January 4th, 2024. Is there any corrections to the minutes? I look for a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the minutes from the January 4th, 2024 meeting.
Okay, have a motion to have a second.
Second.
Have a second. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. And we have the minutes for a special meeting on January 16, 2024. Is there any corrections to those minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the meetings, minutes from the January 16th special meeting as submitted.
Okay, have a motion to have a second.
Second.
Have a second. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Next, accounts payable. Is there any questions on the accounts payable?
Do we need to add this to our accounts payable? Okay. What's our total?
We do or don't need to add that to the accounts payable? We do?
Is there any questions on the accounts payable?
I would say we'd have to reclassify that consolidated bill for the 600. I don't know if we need to hold that back. No, I can't find it.
So we would hold it back. We're holding it back and discuss that with Fair Board?
Right.
Okay, so
So-
that was 697.
Yeah, I can't find it, no.
It was 697.
It's $697.50.
Okay.
697.50. I'm gonna do a little math here. What's our total here?
So, Mr. Chair, I would move that we approve the bills as submitted, less the $697.50 plus the, is there another one we were adding?
Yes, we have a $42,108.35 invoice from the city of Dickinson for our dispatch for December of 2023.
With that bill included.
Okay, you have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second, any other discussion? Not gonna go roll call vote. Commissioner Messer?
Aye.
Commissioner White?
Aye.
Commissioner Claris?
Aye.
Commissioner Marsh?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carried. Accounts payable approved. Next we'll go to the Stark County Spirit of Excellence Award.
Morning, Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Julie Obergewich, and I coordinate the Stark County Spirit of Excellence Award. And recently, on January 22nd, we had the distinct privilege to recognize two incredible county leaders within Stark County. And the submitted nomination was sent in by these two individuals' son, and he nominated Chad and Rhonda Krenzel. And the nominator was Taylor Krenzel, and that it is their son. And I would like to read the nomination, and then I will ask Chad and Rhonda to come forward as well. So the submitted nomination that we received that the mayors of Stark County reviewed was, I'm nominating both Chad and Rhonda Krenzel because they have both demonstrated so many qualities that exemplify a spirit of excellence. Rhonda was a teacher in the Dickinson Public School System for 20 plus years and has dedicated her life to leading youth in a positive direction. After retiring from teaching, she fought her way back into the school system 3 years ago as the main promoter of reading in our community. Though her job is reading liaison, most kids in Dickinson know her as Rhinestone Rhonda. She has made reading cool again and spends her summer days putting on reading rodeos for kids which have been an absolute hit. I could go on and on about how she won Teacher of the Year and how big of an impact she has made as a teacher. But I think getting kids into reading again and bringing families together over her reading rodeos is one of her most amazing accomplishments. As for Chad, he has always been an under-the-radar leader. He is not always the loudest voice in the room, but he has always been a person to step up and to help when there is a need. When Chad's dad passed away in 2005, he stepped up and ran the family business, Keith Signs, without any prior business experience. In late 2022, Chad purchased the business and rebranded it as Vision Signs. His goal is to make an impact in Dickinson that goes beyond the sign industry. Along with being a business leader in Dickinson, he has also been a Breakforth Bible Church worship leader for the past 20 plus years. His dedication is unmatched. The reason I am nominating both Chad and Rhonda together is because they have both supported each other wholeheartedly while pursuing their dreams. They are a team through and through, and the impact on the community would not have been possible without one another. Commission, these are two incredible community leaders with true hearts of gold, and I would like to introduce Chad and Rhonda Krenzel.
Well, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. This is really odd for me to not face the audience, but we just want to thank you so much for having us here this morning. We know you have a lot of serious business, and we're just so glad to be here. We're so glad to represent Stark County. I'm glad to make everyone know that there is a book corral. But I just want to, first of all, say that, because Chen are like, should we write a speech now that we know we're going to be talking? But I think we're just going to speak from our heart, because that's where all of this starts. We are thankful to God because we know that these ideas, the sign business, the things that come always start in our heart. Rhinestone Rhonda was a vision that I had during the pandemic. And I just wanted to relieve moms who I knew were at home with their kids and wanted to go in and do story time. So I had this idea come, which I know came from the spirit of excellence within me. And it was story time with Rhinestone Rhonda, coffee time for mama. And from there, I just prayed and asked the Lord to show me what I could do for our community. And lo and behold, I got a call from the school district asking if I would be interested in this position. I had to learn how to say liaison because I didn't even know how to say the word. But it's a really important word to me because it is really a bridge between children and academics and education. And I do believe that the home is the most important learning environment. And I do believe that the parents and the caretakers of these children are the most important teachers. I honor our school system, I honor our libraries and our community, but I know that the home is where it starts. We are so honored that Taylor was the one who nominated us, because if anybody sees what it's like in the home, it's your own kids, right? Taylor did not always see excellence. He saw a lot of crying and a lot of trying to figure things out, because we have always wanted to meet needs of other people. And so when we see a need and we can meet it, in a world that is so quick to say no, I always say I will only say no if I have to. I am quick to say yes. And when the director of instruction called me to take on this position as a parent literacy liaison, I was nodding my head and saying yes, and Chad was wondering what the phone call was about. But when she told me that I could spend time with my grandkids anytime I wanted to, and that it would be a flexible position, it was really easy to say yes. So I'm just very proud of all of you. I'm so glad I'm getting to know people that are great leaders in our community, and thank you again.
Yeah, thank you very much.
As in Taylor's nomination, Chad's a man of few words.
Thank you for everything you do for our community. Appreciate it.
Just want to throw in a quick note that they were nominated amongst 36 submitted nominations. Again, the process is always blind. The mayors have no idea who is being submitted. I remove all the names, so it is a fair and unbiased process. And this time around, we did have 36 submitted nominations, so it was quite an accomplishment for them to rise above all of the other 35. And this was also the second time that we had recognized more than 2 individuals. The very first award presentation that we did when this award program first began, we recognized 2 gentlemen from Belfield. So it was pretty neat also to have a team that we were able to recognize. So again, congrats to Chad and Rhonda. All nominations can be submitted very, very easily through a very easy form at starkcountysheriffnd.com. The categories again include leadership, customer service, innovation, stewardship, and also Good Samaritan, random acts of kindness. So I always appreciate you allowing us to come forward and to bring these good people to the forefront of the county and to recognize them. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. We had a class to join us here. Welcome. Hope you learned something today. Next, we have Park Board Commission items. Is there anything we need to do on that from the?
I think we're good.
I don't think we have anything to prove on there, so we'll move forward with that. Next, to do the years of service recognition. Certificates of recognition for years of service for the county. The first one is for Gary Schaaf. He's got 15 years with the county. Thank you for his dedicated and loyal service to Stark County. Next one we have is certificate of recognition. This goes to Al Heiser. He has 20 years with the county. I appreciate the time you put in.
Thanks. Time flies when you're having fun, right, Al?
Congratulations.
Or skip you to the end. Sure.
Please.
Well, you can go ahead.
You want to get my report, bro? Get my report, bro?
Yeah.
You can't sound any worse than I do. All right, January highlights for the Stark County Sheriff's Department. Total calls for service, 1,543. This is down from 1,634 last year. 162 of those were traffic stops. This is down from 220 last year. 424 were public relations stops. This is up from 309 last year. 19 bar checks. This is down from 28 last year. 10 theft-related calls for service. This is up from 6 last year. 20 canine usages, 2 truck reg stops, and she participated in 28 other additional calls for service. Excuse me. Responded to 16 accidents, 0 pedestrian, 0 fatality, 0 hit and run, 3 injury, and 13 property. Transports, 19 prisoner, 18 court, 2 medical, 4 juvenile, 1 assist for another county, and 3 mental health. Civil Division did a great job this month. They had 182 attempts. 24 of those were subpoenas, 125 were civil papers, 4 were criminal papers. There was 81 total arrests for the month of January. 60 of those were warrants served. One of the thefts we have going on, I can't get into it too much, but was approaching that $1 million mark. So that was a rather large theft we had this month that we've been dealing with, and especially the last week here or so. I can certainly speak to you guys about that one-on-one. After the meeting, we had our Take Our Kids to School event. We auctioned that. We've been asked to auction that off. The fire department also does something similar to that at a couple of the benefits we've had in town. So we took a couple of Gladstone kids this month to school at Berg, and we had a little session with them at the sheriff's office before we took them, and had a lot of fun. So that was a neat event. And then just one more thing, we're looking at contracting with the city of the Gladstone. For those of you who don't know, we should have that contract up and done next month. So any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next, we go to the road department.
Well, good morning, everyone. Last week, a few of us attended the County Engineers Convention in Fargo. I was on my way out. I got to pass President Deere. But anyway, there's a lot of good topics. But you know what? Good, there's always some bad. The DOT gives some presentation on what's happening in the projects they're bidding. They had a bid opening in the month of December, and all the projects come in 40 to 50% higher than the estimates. They've had our neighboring county, Morton County, has had a bridge project. They bid 3 times and nobody even bid on it. And it's starting to show up, and it's starting to show up in the prices of type work we do. I look back, probably 10, 15 years. Stark County was very aggressive in replacing box culverts. 1 year we replaced 7, probably more than any other county in the state has done. And I think we're probably kind of even leading the state of replacing them. I guess what I'm getting at is being aggressive back then is paying off today, because they're almost double the money that they were when we did them back then. So I don't know what's going to take to break the cycle, but it's really going to be tough to get projects done. I know we put in for our flex funding for our paving our bypass out here. We're supposed to find out in March. After the meeting, I kind of brushed shoulders with one of the guy that's kind of in charge here. I honestly say I think I got a good feeling after I left that conversation, a side conversation, that hopefully we'll get something. But I really believe that if we come away with nothing from that flexible transportation funding, I think the county should, and I think we got the funds to do it, we should just do part of it. Like do maybe 107th. And there's also a possibility, that we might get a percentage of it too. So I think we've laid all the groundwork we can, and did everything we could to push that as hard as we can. So I think now it's just a matter of time. And hopefully, maybe by the March meeting, we'll have some good news. I'll let our engineers explain the bad news that we got last week too on the projects that they've been working so hard on developing. I'm not going to get into that. Jeremy's at a funeral today. He can't make it. Some of the project he's working on, I know the 2 box culverts, one north of Belfield, south of Belfield. Schwartz Construction has some projects. They want to do them early to spring, so that'll probably happen then. In our 2 projects, our grading projects, the one over here on the El Dorado East, and then a mile coming back into town. We're probably going to get them, plans are going out, probably bid them and open them at the next county commission meeting in March. There'll be 3 miles of grading there. The county road crew were hauling scoria from up north, stockpiling in Richardson. The last one, got nice out again. We did a lot of roads that got minimum travel. You know, they're it's kind of nice, they're froze, so we got a lot of that stuff done. Hopefully the weather don't get too bad so we can continue to haul. We had the truck shut down for about 3 weeks in that cold snap and did some major repairs. Just on a lighter note, we got the stands for the Pioneer Museum all done. We got a few of them we got to put up yet. They were really happy. The steps that we made, they were really happy because, I mean, they were pretty rickety, so it makes it a lot safer. We got a railing so nobody can fall off. We put out for an RFP for the Butterfield box north of Richardson, so we got advertised that 3 times. So I don't know if it'll happen before the next commission meeting, but we're going to have to maybe at the next meeting, if we can't get them interviewed in time, but I need commission approval, so we'll just hold off till the next meeting to see how everything comes in. And that, what the RFP will be for is for the construction of the box. It'll be paid by the federal government, so. Other than that, I really don't have anything else.
I just wanted to let you know, I got 2 separate phone calls thanking you guys for doing those jack stands up at the museum. I was glad to see they were green instead of red, so that made me happy. But so I just wanted to let you know that people do appreciate when we do those kind of things. So, and that was, you know, that's not a big ask. It was just something we did, and that was great.
Yeah, and you had guys do it, and they appreciate it, and they all wanted to go up there to see what was in there when they put the jack stands under everything. So it's kind of neat. If you've never gone up there, there's kind of neat things up there, and, you know, it's pretty nice. But, you know, we're always here to help when we can.
Yep.
So,
Appreciate that.
yep. Thank you.
Thanks, Al.
Do you have a representative from North Dakota Department of Transportation?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the Commission. My name is Brad Darr. I'm the State Maintenance Engineer for the North Dakota Department of Transportation. I requested to be on your agenda today to discuss the state's limited 129,000-pound large truck network and get your thoughts for our director and advisory committee's consideration. A bill was passed during the 2017 legislative session requiring the DOT to permit up to 129,000 pounds on a specific network of roadways and then establish a process to add segments to that system. The permit's a $20 single trip permit with $10 routing fee. It's $100 a month or $700 a year per truck trailer combination. The language in the legislation required the department to establish a request mechanism for commercial entities and for individuals who reside in the state to request specific augmentations of the system based on economic needs and outcomes. That process includes an advisory committee to provide input to the department in actions taken to adjust the system, taking into account economic needs, benefits, investments, and maintenance requirements and safety. That system of roadways must keep all legal axle weights as they are today. In addition, the loads must follow the federal bridge formula and any length limitations in effect. Our current request comes from Daxon Kirschman. The request is for North Dakota 8 from mile marker 35, which is 3 miles south of the junction of 21 and 8 to the I-94 interchange. The request affects the counties of Stark and Hettinger, and the application is attached. The designated routes that are being requested for addition to the system currently have a gross vehicle weight of 105,500 pounds and are restricted to an 8-ton road restriction in the spring from road point 0 to 4 and road point 12 to 37.8. The legal weight from road point 37.8 to I-94 is legal weight in the spring. There are no bridge issues on our system. I do have a number of attachments here. The first attachment is the system as it is today. The second attachment shows the route requested. I have attached the
The third attachment is the actual application. And the fourth application is the load restrictions as they are to be, well, they are imposed now this year. And then the last attachment is the legal lengths as they are for the state roadways. With that, I conclude my update. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I'm really looking for your thoughts and input. Some commissions have done it by a formal resolution. Some have just verbally given us their thoughts on what they feel we should do or recommend to our director and the commission. And with that, that concludes my testimony. We do have a representative from the company in the audience as well.
Okay.
So-
You have any questions?
Yeah, just, so when you say per truck, so if you have multiple units, you have to go $700 per truck if you want to take 2 loads from Mott to West Fargo. Is that the understanding, or?
Chairman, members of the committee, that is correct.
Okay.
And they're only single one-way permits, right?
Well, there is a single trip permit, that's one way, but you can also get a monthly permit, which is as many trips as you want in the month, or an annual permit, which is all year round.
And just for clarification, you want to add Highway 8 to this network today?
The applicant is requesting that we add Highway 8 to the system. Yes.
It's not our decision, it would be just our recommendation, right? The DOT makes the final determination.
Chairman, Commissioner, yes, that is correct. We're looking for your thoughts, because if we have the applicant, but once we add this segment of roadway, then it's open to anybody else to get the permit on that segment of roadway. And then it potentially can affect county roads. The state law would require them to have a permit on your system that you would control. And that's the reason we're coming for your input.
So 8 is a reasonable distance between 85 and the road south of Sterling. I guess, Al, I'd defer to your comment on this.
Well, funny you bring that up, because I had a grain farmer just south of town here, inquired about this. The only problem is our roads can't handle it to get to 94. And I guess the DOT, number one, they own number 8, number 2, they maintain it, they control the load restrictions. Other than just maybe a question because they're traveling through Stark County, is that, because we have no control over your highway, what you do, and apparently by looking at, he must come right out of his yard onto state highways.
I think he's got a township road he mentioned to me.
But he's down in Hettinger County, but it doesn't really affect us, because he'd get up at 94 at Richardson and then continue east.
That is correct, but it's opened up to everybody once we put that piece of roadway on it. So it could affect the county, other farmers trying to get
But
onto the
what
system.
I understand, that's 129,000. Most of our roads can only be 105.5. That's what our legal gross weight is. In a non-divisible load, you can load it less. So, I get where he's going, but I would not be in favor of any of our county roads up to 129,000. Number one, then they'd want to take grain to the terminal, and Highway 10 can't take that kind of weight.
Right.
So I don't see an issue with it on number 8, but I sure wouldn't want it on our roads.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Highway 8, north of Mott, Highway 8 that's Stark County.
Yeah.
To get off of those, they'd have to use Stark County
No,
roads to get
he
on
wouldn't,
8.
because he'd be coming all the way from Mott right up and get off at 94 exit interchange.
All state system.
Okay.
Any other questions? And I guess we'd look for a motion to approve this, or deny it.
Well, it's a recommendation.
Yeah.
We have no authority. And I certainly wouldn't oppose this. I would concur what Al says is, if they're trying to get from county road to state highway, that's another challenge. So somebody can put a loading facility right on some approach on Highway 8 maybe, I guess. But I don't know how we would word the motion. I think it enhances our producers' capabilities of getting product to market. I think that's part of our responsibility. So whatever that motion would look like, I would be certainly willing to submit.
So is it, I did read the application a little bit, so, I mean, the heavier loads are spread across more axles, correct?
That is correct. Chairman, Commissioner, that is correct.
So, I mean, the theory is that even if they are heavier, they're not actually gonna create more damage than an 80,000-pound load with less axles. Is that the idea here?
That is correct. It shouldn't cause any more damage to the roadway than the legal loads that are already out there today.
This isn't changing bridge laws or anything like that, it's just for the highway, that segment that's on this map, right?
That's the request here today, correct? And the bridges on Highway 8 have been reviewed and there's no concerns with those. There's actually another permit out there that allows them to do this already in the winter, but it doesn't have the federal bridge formula included in it like this new permit does, which can go year round, which also makes sure the loads are distributed appropriately for bridges and better for the pavements, or equal for the pavements.
And Brad, the axle weights won't be over, it's just that they'll probably be pulling a longer pup to get the more weight on.
That's correct. All axle weights have to be legal as they are today.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
next we'll go to interstate engineering.
Mr. Chairman, good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. So it's not all bad news from the state. Their department has informed us that this project is no longer tied to any other as a bidding requisite and has finally returned our drafted environmental documents. They now suggest that this project be bid this spring or summer. We will now pivot back to concentrating solely on this project's demands. So I have emailed back and forth with Kent from the state. He's talking about potentially relaxing some of the requirements on timing for getting it to bid in March or April or maybe June. The problem is we have not, since we didn't have our CADX document back, we have not applied for our 404 permit yet. We're working on it right now. We're taking some of their comments and applying that to our permit. So I'm hoping by the end of the week we can get that to Al and we can get that sent off. That's usually like a 60 to 90 day turnaround. So the possibility of getting this thing bid and built this year is waning. But we're gonna just keep our foot on the gas. They introduce new hoops for us to jump through, and then they take them away. So we're pivoting. We're gonna try our best to get it going. But one of my hopes is if they're relaxing requirements on some of this other stuff, like these projects being married, maybe they'll relax their requirements on us having a permit in place before bidding. So that's something that I'd like to explore. I don't think they will, but I also didn't think they would let us divorce these projects. So there's hope. And as far as the low water crossing, that's become a back burner item for Al and for myself, I believe.
I think Andrew will shed some light on there when he gets over, because he got email from DOT this morning, so he'll kind of tell you what the fate of the low water crossings are.
Yeah, it sounds like they don't want to fund the construction of them, but maybe they'll still fund the design and the removal. I'll defer to Andrew for now, so. Any questions on those two projects?
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next we'll do Highland Engineering.
Morning, Commissioners. Andrew Schrank with Highlands Engineering. The first project I have up here is BRJ 0045076. This is the Butterfield box that Al referenced. We are done with design on this project. It's been awarded to Bronco Brothers. We actually just approved the work drawings for the box culvert construction, so I'm assuming they'll start production on that here soon. And essentially our contract is complete on this one, and Al just indicated he's putting an RFP out for the construction engineering services for the construction of this summer, and that is scheduled for an October completion. The second project here, BRJ 0045077, this is the project we received the Dear John letter here from the DOT that's been referenced a couple times. This project was 3 different sites. It was 3 low water crossing projects. A little bit of history on this one. Initially, last summer, we were about 90% through the design. The DOT told us to hold up while they came with some guidance for low water crossings, since they did not have everything in place. In November, we heard from them and they said they did not feel that these met the requirement for a low water crossing, so go ahead and remove any indication of a low water crossing in our documentation for this project. So we did that. We resubmitted, had everything finalized and submitted around January 8th with plans and CADX and all of that. And we got the email on January 30th that said they would no longer be funding low water crossing projects. And they indicated that this bid date would be pushed back to December 13th of '24. So we clarified, since they indicated they were not funding low water crossings, but they were indifferent on whether this was a low water crossing project. But they indicated now this is a low water crossing project that is not eligible for funding other than the bridge removal portion of the project. So if you wanted to get funding to remove the structures, you could get federal funding just to remove the structures and do a locally funded project as designed to replace them with low water crossings. Roughly speaking, you're probably looking at $15,000 ballpark a structure to remove these, and overall project cost was estimated at $1 million. So a pretty small portion of the project that would be eligible for that federal funding. So I guess at this point, we're just kind of waiting for guidance and direction on how the county wants to proceed forward with these. I don't think there's really any action we need from you, but we'll keep working with Al to see what we want to do with this project.
What's their logic for eliminating that particular funding?
I think Biden found some funding overseas somewhere, so he took it away.
In the email, they referenced what Al had indicated, the 40 to 50% overages on bids took up a lot of their funding, so they've had to make some tough decisions with projects to spread their dollars as far as they can. And unfortunately, there's some projects here that just didn't make the cut anymore, so.
So the good thing is, Neil, that they actually funded all the work that Andrew and they've done on these projects. They funded that 100%. So it's not like we were out all the design and stuff. They actually paid them bills. So we just have to decide now. My theory is right now, I would just leave them as they are and let the DOT inspect them like they do every year. If we get a red light one, we'll deal with it then.
So is the funding canceled or is the funding deferred? I mean, would it be potential in the next round of funding on the projects that they're looking at a year from now or 6?
He got an email this morning from the DOT. It doesn't sound like there's going to be any more funding other than just to take it out.
And these don't identify as low water crossings, right?
Yeah, Mr. White, correct. So I believe if there was to be funding, we would likely have to go back and redesign these as something other than a low water crossing, a box culvert or a standard culvert pipe. Because it sounds like the federal funding definitely will not be allowed for low water crossings. So the funding is only at this point for the bridge removal. If you wanted to try to get funding for everything, we'd probably have to rescope these, redesign as something different and try again. And I'm not sure if they would fund it or not. It would be kind of in their hands at that point.
Is there any state aid available, something like this?
No, it's not. And we talk about redoing it. I don't think there's going to be any bridge funds available till 27.
Well, all 3 of these bridges were obviously put on the idea or in scope because they're not great, right?
One of them bridges is down south of Belfield, just about the county line. Many years ago, Highway 85 used to have a kink in it. They straighten the road out and they give it to us. Nice of them, so we can deal with it now. And the other one is over there by just south of Taylor, no, north of Taylor. And there's 2 ways out of there. They'd fund one, but not the other one. And the other one it's pretty much just a crossing for farmers to cross. So my suggestion would just let them be the way they are. Let the DOT inspect them every year until they really get bad where we have to do something, then we'll decide then. But I think we've got other projects we need to spend our money on than these right now. It was just an option, 100% funding, and we went for it. Well, we know what we got.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
KLJ then?
Hey, good morning, Commissioners. Andrew Krebs with KLJ. I guess we could start with our roundabout project. So last week we had a meeting to discuss the preliminary layouts with the county, And present was Commissioner White and Marsh, as well as Mr. Heiser and Mr. Wall. So at the meeting, we discussed our design vehicle, roundabout size, location, material selection, reviewed our turning movements, kind of showed how the roundabout would function, and went over any concerns that they had. I think the meeting went pretty good. We received pretty good feedback, and I think got a pretty good plan moving forward with that. And then our second project at Chip Seal, that was bid more seal coat and trucking. It was a little bidder, and the plan is to do that this summer.
I'd like to comment a little bit on our roundabout design out there. I know a lot of people don't like roundabouts. They got curb and gutters, and I know at the meeting Corey brought up, you probably seen all the debris and mud that slopped off in them. These will be designed, they'll have a mountable curb in the middle, and there will be no curb on the outside, so we can sweep our snow off. We get heavy snow, we can actually get on top of them. And the concern was, we had a farmer that pulls a big grain drill or air drill, and his cart and everything's probably 100 feet long. You can actually mount a curb and get right up to inner circle to make that bend for these super, super long loads. So I think the DOT learned a lot over the years when they build them, how and how not to. And I think we're at the point now, I think this should be really good for that intersection.
Okay, any questions? If not, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next we go to Ms. Kara Simons here.
I think she is.
Good morning. My name is Kara Simons, and I am the director of the Southwest Multi-County Corrections Center Community Program. It was a program that was developed 2 years ago. I've been asked to share some information about the program with you guys today. So our program was designed to help people who are in jail get the services that they need to become productive members of society. Basically, I would get people out of jail in lieu of bond and help them find the services that they need to be successful. So those services include a lot of different things, including treatment for drugs and alcohol, psych appointments, food, shelter. A lot of my clients are homeless. And so helping them find those services helps them on a better path to stop with the crime and stay out of jail, essentially. The program has been going for 2 years now, and we have successfully saved the county $500,000 up to this point. To be housed in jail, it's $150 a day per person. If they are accepted into my program, we don't charge them. We just pay the $3.25 for the ankle monitor that they wear. And then hopefully, like I said, get them to the place where they need to be, whether it be treatment or whatever services that they're needing. So they all have a separate case plan. We identify the problems that they have, and then we just attack those problems and help along so that they can do better in society. All of our referrals come from the state's attorney, so the state's attorney makes the referrals. If the judge agrees to that, it goes into their bond order, and then it's forwarded to myself. I meet with the individuals as they apply for the program, do an ORAS risk assessment, which basically just tells me what kind of a risk that they're going to be out in the community. They are placed, if they're accepted into the program, they're placed on, they have a GPS monitor placed on them, so I know where they're at all times. Majority of them are on the 24/7 program, whether that be drug patch or blowing twice a day. We meet a lot in the first few weeks that they come into the program to find the housing, get them signed up. We have, we collab a lot with other places in town, so whether it be ND Rent Help is one of the services that they get. So, and that's a really good one right now for our homeless people. They're only accepting people who are homeless at this point. And so they get 3 months of ND Rent Help, which helps them get their feet on the ground to get a job, you know, and get back out into the community. So in hopes of them being successful is the purpose of the program, so that they're not repetitively going back into jail and in the criminal justice system. So some of the things that we help with is at our building, we have an LAC, which is a licensed addiction counselor, and that person will meet with each individual who's accepted into the program, and they do a drug and alcohol assessment on them. and then they determine if they need treatment. If they do need treatment, we provide treatment right at our facility. Unless they had a higher level of care that they were needing, which would include like an inpatient treatment. And then we help them get to the inpatient treatment. So including all the paperwork, figuring out the insurance, giving them a ride if they need a ride. You know, if they have court cases coming up, you know, making sure that the court knows if they're in treatment and they're not just skipping court or whatever the case may be. We help with housing, childcare, pretty much anything you could think of. But our treatment program is now just opened up for the public as well. We offer a 2.1 and an aftercare that we opened up to the public, so it's not just probation and parole or people who are in my program. So that is available in Dickinson. As of right now, we are the only one, although I do understand that there might be another treatment group that will be opening up for in Dickinson, which is nice. I think Hartview is opening one up. We also do care coordination and peer support out of our building, which was developed by the governor and his wife. Basically what that means is finding people services. So they come in, we find them services, just as I would do for somebody who's in my program with the ankle monitor and following all the rules like house arrest. We don't put the ankle monitor on them or anything like that. They just come in, we help them find all the services that they need to find. And then we also offer them a peer support, and that peer support is somebody who has a lived experience, just as they do. And they can visit each week, they can go out for coffee. It's just like an emotional support person who helps them, and then their care coordinator actually helps them find the services that they need, okay? So currently we have just myself in the office along with our LAC, Allison Warner. We have got 2 peer support specialists, we've got 2 care coordinators, and a case manager. Some of us double up on duties. We currently have 6 people who are sentenced into the program. We have 4 people who are pretrial, and we have 5 people who are on electric home monitoring, which we offer as well. We decided to start offering electric home monitoring because we have access, because of the community supervision program, we have access to those GPS units, and there was only one other place in town who was offering the service, and so I decided to implement this for the community, so you don't necessarily have to be in jail. And then that way, I based the fees off of a sliding fee scale, so it depends on how much money they make. So they still have the opportunity to get out of jail or not do jail time because they're on the ankle monitor and doing that at-home arrest that was given to them as a sentence. We also offer classes. We're offering, I teach a DUI class. We have Within My Reach and T4C class, adding soon anger management, conflict resolution, those will all be offered to not only people in the community supervision program, in my program, but will also be offered to the public or people who are on probation and parole. So, I mean, that's pretty much the gist of what we do. We have a room where we have a computer set up. They can come in and fill out job applications. They can, work on their resumes. We'll do mock interviews with them. There's just so many things that we do on a daily basis with our clients that I think really work for them, that helps them keep out of trouble and kind of be on the straight and narrow. They're more encouraged to complete their treatment and follow the rules that they need to follow. So, anybody have any questions? Or a lot of questions?
If you're doing what you're doing, it's awesome, especially if you're getting, the individual back into the workforce and
Yes.
saving the incarceration costs. So I think that's good. I don't know if Amanda has something to add on it.
The only thing I'd like to add is, Rochelle Junton, she's the warden in the women's prison and up at the Swimsea. And I had this kind of idea about a year and a half ago, and what Cara has done with this program has far exceeded anything that I could have imagined, and I think she's doing a really amazing job on it. We're seeing it day to day in my office, individuals that we knew that really had a significant problem that treated the jail, I suppose, like a revolving door, that have come into this program. We've seen just amazing strides. It's really slowed down that kind of revolving door for some of these individuals. And they're doing, the ones that take it seriously are doing really well. The ones that don't, we know right away and try to cut them out of the program so that they don't spoil or take resources from other people. So, the fact of the matter is unfortunately there are a lot of people in our community that have substance abuse issues, and we can either recognize that and realize that they are members of society and we need to get them back to being functioning members of society, or we can ignore the problem and just put a Band-Aid on it. And instead of continuing this Band-Aid, we decided to try kind of this proactive approach. And like I said, CARE's do an amazing job with this program, far exceeded anything that I could have imagined. So I just want to give her, a lot of props for that.
Thank you.
One thing I would add, I mean, this program was started by State's Attorney Engelstad and Rochelle, and that was their vision. But the original funding that kicked this program off came from the board of SWMC. So they made an initial investment, and the beautiful part about the whole story is with Kara's vision and energy, they've expanded this program to the point where it's now self-sustaining, which is really cool. I mean, you're not asking for any more additional public support here. I mean, by the services that you're offering, it's actually sustaining itself.
Correct.
Yeah, very good.
Any other questions? Well, thank you for the work you do. Also for
thank you.
saving the county money too.
Yeah.
Do the City of Taylor Water Project?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
My name is Lisa. I am the city auditor for Taylor. And a few years ago, excuse me, I'm a little bit nervous. A few years ago, we were approached by Southwest Water. They were going to bring a water tower into the Taylor area, and they allowed us to buy into that project. And so we bought into it at, I believe it was 14%. And now last summer, it became in commission. And so now we are looking at some infrastructure needs as far as connecting. And as you know, City of Taylor is small. We have a small residential base. And we are, I'm going to introduce you to Moore Engineering. This is AJ Tuck and Anthony Sitness, and they will explain some of those infrastructure needs. That's above me.
Almost done with the handouts here.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Lisa. My name's AJ. I'm with Moore Engineering. Appreciate you having us here today and a spot on the agenda. We'll be fairly quick, but I just want to touch at a high level on what we're doing in Taylor. And I passed out some maps and some just some data for you guys to look at. So before we get too far into the weeds, Moore Engineering, we're a civil engineering firm. We're headquartered in West Fargo. I live and work in Bismarck. We have about 40 staff in Bismarck. We're working all across the state. We probably work for about 80 communities across North Dakota. So our primary business is working for small town municipalities. We were approached by Taylor, and they had some needs. They wanted us to look at their lagoon systems and lift station. We knew about this issue with the water tower and how they're fed by the Southwest Pipeline and how that comes into town. Just like Lisa mentioned, the city bought into the tower that was put up by the Southwest Pipeline, and now they need a new line or a new connection to that tank. So right now in town, there's a 3-inch line that comes from the water tower to the city's booster station. The booster station repressurizes that and distributes it to the city. The problem is that 3-inch line to do that job is too small. Along with that, the distribution system in town is comprised of anything from 1.5 inches all the way up to 4-inch water mains, which are all undersized and don't allow for good pressures and flows throughout the city, specifically when someone's using water. If all the taps are shut off and nobody's drawing any water, there's good pressure in town. However, the minute somebody flushes the toilet and their neighbor across the street starts to take a shower, you can feel that. You can feel that water usage. So we did a study. I have 2 copies of this. I'll leave them with you, commissioners, if you want to take them home and read them. You're more than welcome to. But we touched on the importance of the water project and we modeled their water system. We also touched on their sanitary sewer needs and lift station and lagoons. The first priority that the city has is the water system. They bought into this tank. They don't have a good connection to this tank. They don't have good pressures in town, and that's their first priority. So that's why we're here today. The first thing that I want you to look at is this handout. There's about 4 different maps in here, and what I want to draw you first is page 3 of this handout. What this handout represents is the maximum flow rates at different nodes or hydrants or a tap at those locations. And that's a maximum flow. So as you can see, let's just look at over on the east side of town there. If you open up a hydrant, you're only going to get 68 gallons per minute out of that hydrant. And you can do the math and figure out how long it takes to fill up a 2,000 gallon fire truck out of that hydrant. It takes a long time. So that's existing today. Now, with our proposed project, if you go to page 1 of that same handout, we're proposing to put in a 6-inch line from the water tower to that same point on the east side of town. And then we'll connect all the north-south streets that intersect with that. There's north-south water main on each one of those streets. We'll connect them into that 6-inch line. And by doing that, we take all of these up to 470 gallons per minute at each one of these nodes along that 6-inch line, which is a drastic improvement. You might be asking where that 470 comes from. We've been talking to Southwest Pipeline and Southwest Water Authority. The maximum that they can give us out of the tank capacity is 500 gallons per minute. We lose a little bit of that flow in a meter vault that's going to be out there by the tank. But what I'm getting at here is to go from 68 gallons a minute to 470 gallons a minute out of a hydrant is a big difference. And that's why this project became probably the most important for Taylor, is just to get that flow rate up in town. So how are we going to do that? This handout that I gave you is costs. We've got 2 ways to pay this back, or to pay for this project. The first of which we can special assess the project, the second of which we can increase user rates. Increasing user rates is the easiest. It covers everybody equally across the board. This is a community benefiting project, so it would make sense that a user rate increase to pay this project back or pay the loan back is the most fair and most equitable. Combined with that, this project qualifies for a 60% grant from the State Water Commission. We're on the agenda for Thursday this week at the State Water Commission for what they call pre-construction dollars. Essentially, it's for engineers to prepare plans and specifications for the project and to bid the project. And then we would go back in June to the State Water Commission and ask for 60% of construction funding for the project. So these numbers here represent that, and the 3 pages here represent some different scenarios. So the first page would be if in this bottom table, your total project cost, and then what contribution that Stark County may or may not add to the project, assuming there's no city funds given to the project, meaning the city has some cash reserves. They've talked about putting up to $200,000 to this project out of their city reserves to lower the cost burden for its constituents. But we wanted to run some different scenarios for you on if there was an opportunity that Stark County could participate in this project, and at what level, what is that going to do for everybody's water bills? So this first one here is assuming no match from the city You can see if there's $0 from Stark County, assuming a 60% grant from the State Water Commission, the utility rate increase across the board would be about $40. If we increase that to $100,000 from Stark County, it goes down to 39 and so on and so forth, $500,000, $23. By no means am I standing here asking you guys that you need to contribute, but I wanted to just make you aware of this and basically offer some context as to why we're here today. If you go to page 2, you can see what it does with the city contribution, $100,000. Page 3 is a city contribution for $200,000. So at a high level, that's what we're looking at doing in Taylor. Like I said, we know we're going to the State Water Commission. We feel very confident in a 60% grant from them. James Oderman is on the State Water Commission. I've talked to him specifically about this project. He is in favor of it. I think he's done a nice job at the State Water Commission championing this. So with that, I'll pause and if you have any questions for me or for Lisa.
AJ, one of the things we've talked about previously at these commission meetings and was using the county as kind of a vehicle to engage other grants, federal funds, those kind of things. And you and I have visited with us a little bit. So if you could enlighten the rest of us how that grant process would or would not work, and are there options available to that and that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Messer, so what we've done in some other communities is, the counties were given ARPA funding through the COVID Act or whatever that has changed names now a couple times, but either that or with oil and gas production tax or whatever that might be. So what that's looked like in a few other communities, I'll use Wilton, for instance. We're working with the city of Wilton, way on the north edge of Burleigh County. And Wilton received a grant from the Army Corps of Engineers and the State Water Commission. And then we went to the county as well, and the county pitched in about $600,000 to their $10 million project out of their ARPA funding. As they received, I want to say around $18 million, and they kind of made a priority to divvy that out to the small communities in the county. So Wing received a bunch, Wilton received a bunch. And then there were some local water board type things that were also done with that funding. So I hope that kind of addresses what you're asking.
Well, and then are there opportunities for grants outside of that? I think where I was heading, excuse me, I'll repeat that for Bernie. Are there opportunities for Taylor for a project like this? Because you're not going to be unique in this situation. Right. South Hart's got a size issue. Belfield has utility issues. Richardson just did a bunch. And so from your engineering workspace, I mean, are there opportunities for grants, and those kind of things outside of the State Water Commission?
Yes, they are. They're a little more competitive. The State Water Commission is very good about funding water projects. The biggest challenge we see for municipalities is funding sanitary sewer projects and street projects. Streets are not a necessity to human safety, human health and safety, like water mains and sewer mains are. Kind of the big elephant in the room for Taylor is that we have a lift station that's failing, and we have lagoons that are overtopping, and that's a big problem for us. So we're putting a lot of eggs into that basket to get that project funded through the United States Army Corps of Engineers. We're going to have to look at like the BRIC program through FEMA and other hazardous mitigation type funding. Yes, those funding sources are out there. They're more difficult to attain.
Thank you.
So I would say, I want to say it was a year and a half ago, we brought in somebody that's done a lot of the federal funding grant work. And he sent out a list to all of the small cities of stuff he would need to get going on rolling those grants through, the information he would need. The feedback that I got was the cities weren't able to get their engineers to get the information together for them, or they didn't have the information available to them. And then basically the person that we set up to apply for these grants for the small cities has not received a complete, any sort of information from any of the small cities. So it just kind of died. And so I'm just wondering, like, are the engineers able to help them get that information together? Because that's when you're talking about FEMA, or you're talking about, this was for those federal side grants. And he hasn't been able to apply for a single one for any of the small cities as of yet. Or is there an issue with him not being the person not being proactive enough to go to the cities? Or where do you think the communication is lacking in there?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, I've only been working in Taylor now for about 8 months, or maybe a year. So when those discussions were held, I wasn't around. Because I believe you're working with Nexus, correct, Mr. Schwartz, Daniel Schwartz? If it's something that the city would like me to do and provide information to him, to go after these FEMA brick grants or the hazardous mitigation program grants, we can do that. We also do that work internally at Moore Engineering, and have been successful at getting them. We just know that those grants are very competitive and they're nationally based. And to put all of your eggs into that basket is kind of wishing a lot. So, some recent projects that have been funded by that brick program, Garrison needed a new water intake to serve the city of Garrison and to serve Garrison Rural Water. Mobridge just did the same thing with a water intake, and Mobridge is a town in South Dakota, about 4,000 people. We wrote both of those grants. I believe Nexus did a grant for the city of Lincoln for a sewer regionalization project, and I think they also got a project in Fezzen. And that one was for a lagoon system, kind of the same thing, but those are very high dollar projects that were nationally competitive, and they
So these smaller city ones aren't really competing with the.
Right. They really look at a benefit cost analysis of, what if Garrison's water intake were to absolutely fail, and the 4,000 people that live in Garrison plus all of the users of Garrison Rural Water have no water. Where right now in Taylor, we've got a water line that comes to the city. It's not ideal. You can see the flow rates here, but at the end of the day, they still do have water.
Okay. Well, that actually answered.
What is the total cost of the project?
I thought it was right around that $2 million range. I realize that we don't have that on here now. Is that right, Anthony? 2.5? Thanks, Anthony.
Any other questions?
Mr. Tuck, if you could leave a couple of your handouts boxes in the office, I'd like to be able to look at that also.
Yeah, I could do that, Bernie.
Thank you.
Okay.
I guess my follow-up question would be with Lisa. So what is the residents' have you gauged them specials versus upping the monthly rate? And
We did look at the specials.
Could you step up to the mic?
I'm sorry. We did look into the specials. I prefer the specials versus the water rate increase, which that in turn, they would be able to pay it off on their time to not have to pay that interest on those bonds. Did you have those worksheets for the
Yep, the
specials?
The special assessments is the top.
Yep.
The top one. So the nice thing about the specials is that we can put a special assessment on each property in town compared to just the folks that are paying a water bill. So you might have, folks that live out of town that have lots or storage units or something like that that might benefit from having a water main in front of their property, but they're not connected. But that lot is still benefiting from having a water main in front of their property. So we could go the special assessment route. We haven't finalized it yet. on which route we're going. We do need to have a public input meeting coming up, and we usually do that in the design process. So
So looks like you got almost 70 or 80 properties without water meters at this point? Okay, got it. Thank you.
And I'm not sure that they would all be assessed at
Okay.
at the same one-to-one. I'm not sure that how that would look at far as the special assessment committee.
Okay, thank you.
So wouldn't the risk be if you could put special assessments on all day, but people still have to pay them?
People still have to pay them, but it's how much is the city of Taylor able to buy that down, knowing that we have a sewer pump or the lift station that's coming. So we are drawing down our funds as well as do we put part of that on the sewer bill, the sewer line item. So there's some bigger decisions that are looming in the back here.
Okay, thanks.
So yes, we are looking at those
Okay.
specials, yes.
Any other questions? Okay, thanks for your report then.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next we go to the Southwest Art Gallery and Science Center.
Can I interrupt really quick here? I'd
Go
like to, mention thank you to these young people that showed up. Harper and Joe, I'm talking to you too. I'm sorry I wasn't there. Harper's my granddaughter. I'm sorry I wasn't there, but I hope that they got to have a little insight on what goes on in running a county.
Morning.
Good morning. Excuse me, I think I need some water after all of this. I think you do too. Huh?
Water bottles over
Good morning,
there.
Mr. Chairman and County Commissioners. We are here again after we are finally in our building. I'm Shirley Dukart, and this is Irene Schaefer. We are board members of the Southwest Art Gallery and Science Center. Our board members, with the help of the city, have raised over $800,000 in less than 2 years. And we have paid the first $500,000 down on our $1.5 million fantastic building at 99 2nd Street East. We opened our art gallery to the public last week. We are ready to hire a full-time staff person who can also be the capital campaign fundraising chairperson. Our board members have been donating and paying all the startup funds, as well as donating furniture, food, beverages, in addition to some of our wonderful sponsors. As of yesterday, after 6 months of negotiating and drawing up a lease agreement, the new third CEO for Court Energy called and said that Dickinson's site was off the table. It was a great disappointment because it would have been a great income for us for up to 3 years. Now we have to find new tenants until we can raise the money to pay off the $1 million we owe the Fongs before we can start phase 2 at the Science Center. This is an 8-county center, and we will be open to anyone that visits our city. We are here to ask for your help. I have several options we would like the commissioners to consider. We would like Stark County to pay the salary like some of the other arts and science centers do. Beth at Gateway to Science makes $73,000 plus benefits. Wendy at Magic City in Minot makes $61,000 plus benefits. Andrew at Plains Art Museum in Fargo makes $104,000. I know Terry Teal at Dickinson Museum Center, but I think that included the CVB. In 2021, she was at $100,000. Another option would be a property tax exemption since we are a 501c3 nonprofit. If you could pledge, even $25,000 for 5 years, and then we would go to the other counties and ask them to make a match. That would be our last option for right now. This is our ask. We're open for questions. Our president and vice president of the board is here, Janelle Stone King and Cherie Russell.
Shirley, what is I'm assuming you're automatically eligible for the tax exempt. What's the value on that per year, do you think?
I think it's $20,000. That's what the city assessor site says.
Okay.
For the building.
Okay. And you've made that application or whatever requirement is to become tax exempt?
No, I don't, we haven't yet,
Okay,
but we will.
okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Irene, do you have anything to say?
Yes. First, I want to thank you for giving us time to bring you up to date on the Southwest Art Gallery. Also, I want to thank you for the things you do for our city and for the county. Without your help, this would not be a great place to live. The cultural and educational opportunities we will be providing these people go a long way to strengthen the community. Our young people will be encouraged to develop a love of learning and acquire skills that will unlock their talents and give them a lifelong desire to learn more. Our art gallery and classrooms will be there for people of all ages. Our young people, they need role models, and we're looking to you guys to be role models for these people also. Your support will go a long way to helping us move this forward, and thank you for giving us your time.
Shirley, one more question, because I think there's a little confusion as to how the swag or.
Oh, hiring?
No,
me?
how it works, because you have a recommendation in here from the CTE, Career Tech Academy that supports you, correct?
Yes.
So how is what you do for the youth and potentially even adults, I believe, how does that differ from what the Career Tech Academy is providing? Or what do you do over and above it? Just enlighten me.
I'm going to let these two young ladies who are artists and teach. I do not. I made wedding cakes. That's as far as my talent went.
Hello, Chairman and Commissioners. I'm Janelle Stone King, President for the board, and I'd love to answer that question because I was actually the one that did the market research and met with Aaron Anderson with CTE when this project first came to light. And when him and I talked about the possibilities of how we could strengthen each other, it really is about using those talents of the students at the CTE to help even develop things for the center. And in talking about different abilities for collaboration between the two. Our facility is a community facility. There will be many people who are involved in the usage of that. Some of those include our homeschool families, parents who are looking to supplement their time with kids and have joy and educational experiences. With the CTE, we're just looking at different ages. So we're really hitting, when you talk about the Science Center component, it is for all ages. I have just as much fun as my kids when I go to the Science Center in Bismarck, but we are hitting a younger demographic and starting that learning and that technical skills at an earlier age. So we're going anywhere from birth until really into high school. But a lot of the Science Center exhibits are really geared more to the early elementary to middle school age.
Thank you.
I might also add that we are going to be offering services to, say, like the Veterans Day Ready have reached out to us to supplement their healing process through the use of art. We're already working with HeartView and providing art therapy for them. It goes a long ways for what art can do for a person. And it's going to be open not only for that sense of expression that we have, but it's also going to be used as a sense of healing and just becoming a whole person.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I guess, Shirley, you were talking about your request today was, you were making a request or suggestions, or what is it?
What is the request? You could bribe us with some cake,
Well, any one of them will work for us. We just need help now. We have to get someone in place. We have an artist who is very qualified. For those of you that were at Rotary last week, or even at our soft opening and the opening for the public last week too, Janelle did explain all about Dustin Young. We are going to offer him 80,000 because he's taking a big pay cut from where he works right now at Wallworks. But he would prefer to be in our area rather than travel. And then his benefits are already paid, so we would not have to pay that. The tax exemption would be huge too. I mean, any one of them will work for us. So whatever works for the county, and this is a quality of life project too. I don't know, sometimes I say when something doesn't happen, something better is gonna happen. So maybe because Cord backed out on the basement, maybe we'll be moving faster forward with the Science Center. I don't know. But right now, we have all walks of life on our board, and they're very passionate about this. We've worked really hard. So whatever you feel on the papers, I can give you copies of what I wrote down for, it will help.
Going back to Shirley, I just have a question about your fundraising. So what do y'all do for fundraising, the events? I mean, just to give you a little bit of some,
Back
get
to
it out there.
Janelle. We just started really actually fundraising now. We went to, Cherie and I went to Steph CTS, and then Janelle, Cherie, and Irene and I went to Dunn County Gaming, and then we just kind of got more involved in Dickinson. Of course, Lola Bank just donated $100,000 to our store so we can open up our store. There are no stores in Dickinson that really sell art, for artwork. And that will be our next step, to get that going.
I can speak about the capital campaign, which we kicked off just last fall. And so we began by doing a lot of grant work and looking at some of those bigger grants. Unfortunately, like the Destination Development Grant through Department of Commerce was awarded to the Dickinson Museum Center, and we celebrate them for that, but we really could have used that million. So it's harder as a startup organization to get some of these funding, these grants that are available. We are going to keep working towards those. There are many different, because our center includes the education STEM components, cultural components, as well as the art and creative side. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities for grants. We continue to apply for those. We have met with many local business owners and corporations, and there are some things in the work with our capital campaign. Some we've already received. This first year, we anticipate it will be a little tougher. Now that we're in our building, it's going to make things a little smoother, but the main concern that we have is all of us are volunteers and have full-time jobs, a lot happening in our lives, and we've dedicated, I mean, pretty much full-time to this. And so we just really need somebody in a paid role. The fact that Dustin Young is willing to step into that paid role now, and it was a blessing that we found somebody qualified to run an art and science center, honestly, whose family is local and who's staying. And so we need to get him in that paid position at around $80,000 a year. He can move things forward a lot faster. We also have programming that's beginning. So when you talk about the funds that we have coming in, unless we have somebody working, it's hard for us to make money. And so we've done a lot of this on the side and in the evenings, but we need to get someone moving forward in that role so he can do a lot of the work, not only in the capital campaign, but the programming. We have things coming up this spring, doing some mental health and art activity overnights for our high school students, some drop-in studio time for them so they have work that they can do and spend time with their friends outside of their home and off their gaming devices. That's something that even the Youth Commission was talking about yesterday, the Dickinson Youth Commission. We want to meet these needs, but we need to have a paid employee. So your support to try to help us get him into a paid role would be tremendous. Just because we have to be so careful with our donors' dollars, and we are looking at needing to do renovation for classroom spaces on the main floor. We're going to work as cautiously as we can at those renovations to make sure that we are doing the least possible with what our funding streams are right now. And then we're moving slowly, which is this whole project. It has not been a sprint. It's been a marathon because we want to be careful as we move forward to make sure that this project's sustainable long term. We do anticipate with our business plan and our 5-year strategic plan, that we will have sufficient income stream for this to be a self-sustaining building with the commissions of the art, the sales of the store and STEM take-home kits, with our classes, with Pottery Ceramic Studio, the Science Center drop-in and membership rates, and even just the rental of our spaces for classes to be taught in with various different means. We know that this building, it looks really good for us long-term. It's the startup that's the trick.
So the dollars that you've raised thus far, they have some restrictions on them?
There are a few. We have some funding from Power of 100 Women that's delegated to our steamroller project, which is the trailer. That it's part of our business plan that we're going to make sure we do outreach to the other counties. And so that trailer will take STEM or art to those other counties. We have not made the purchase of that trailer yet. Those are restricted funds. We have some other specific funds that we're just saving for the building purchase. And so we're just being careful that we ensure that we have those funds designated for that. Other than that, the rest of the money we fundraise has been unrestricted.
Go ahead, Bernd.
Do you guys qualify, and I don't know if you do it, for anything in Stark County development for any of your stuff that you do?
So we're working on a signage grant for our building because right now we don't have any signage. People know we're there, but we have looked at that. Originally, we were looking at doing a FlexPace loan for that building, but because Brad and Brenda Fong stepped in and made that purchase, then we didn't move forward with that. But we've been working with Stark Development in other ways, and so we'll continue to pursue anything that would be beneficial for us.
Yeah, I just didn't know if they had anything there that falls into what you're looking for now.
So the grant funding that's a grind. That takes a long time.
It is.
And it's very uncertain. But you also do some local events, right? You've done some galas, is that right?
Yes, and we've raised good money from our galas. We've done 2, and we have anticipate another one in November. That has been our biggest fundraiser. We've done other events more to serve the community, like we did a Maker's Market this last fall. That was a first event for us, and it was so loved. We had a potter with a wheel in Legacy Square making pots and mugs, and we had local artisans and people showing how they create their work, and that was a loved event. With that, public actually requested that we do that often. And we said maybe twice this year. It was a lot of work that we didn't get much money back from. To be honest with you, it was more of a community service to do that and create awareness for us and also highlight a lot of these artisans and makers in our community. So those are the kind of things that just bring a vibrancy to the downtown and highlight the gifts of our citizens. So we want to continue to pursue that, but not much of a moneymaker. Even our classes, right now, it's been more about awareness. And like I got grants to fund our overnight lock-ins. We've been providing these to our youth for free at this time. Long-term plan is that we will get funding and grants for low income to support scholarships for those, but those will have fees as we move forward. So we'll start having income from our programming. This past year, that wasn't our focus. We wanted to just really see the impact and pilot our programming first before we started charging. So for us, doing the research was more important than anything else.
What are your, maybe it's unfair since you just moved in, but what is your current level of participation in numbers? I don't know, and what are you projecting, start day one, 365?
Yeah, that is a little tricky. We had a soft opening event that was invitation only. I don't have the exact numbers, but we've felt that it was just over 200 people that attended that evening. It was beautiful. We were open this last Friday in the gallery, and I don't have numbers on that.
We have 23 artists represented there. We have, most of our artists are from this region, but we also reached out to former students or former people from this area to bring their work back into as well, and that was an excellent response. So just the gallery portion itself looks absolutely wonderful.
Regarding the impact to the public, when it comes to our events, I know our Maker's Market was well attended. Within our building, once we are fully up and running, I cannot recall the exact numbers in our business plan, but I believe DLN Consulting did a little work on the community impact. I don't want to quote it wrong. I'd have to take a look back in there. But we anticipate reaching a good portion of the community because we're handling things for all ages. At Heartview, Cherie's been doing those classes.
I've been working with them since last October, and I went in there with, okay, I'm just gonna get this done, I'm gonna do it, and I actually leave quite satisfied and built up because of what the art and the art expression and the art voice has done for them. It's kind of a crunch to fit it into the middle of the week and to give them 2 hours, but it's been a wonderful experience. And I really have a vision of eventually, because they do check out, they go to different places, to actually bring them down to our building and have a special session with them as well. We also have been approached by many people, the common sip and paint thing, which is just kind of a fun thing for a lot of people to do. And a lot of people actually find a discovery of their own selves and each one of you
Good luck with
is
that.
an artist. I believe everybody is an artist.
She always says this.
I just really believe that the expression of art for so many people in so many different ways, and it doesn't have to be the visual arts, it can be any of the arts, is just absolutely good for the whole being of the person.
Right.
Question, so STEM is a portion or is a focus, right?
Yeah, so one of the things we're looking at this year, prior, when we were intending on leasing the basement space to Cord Energy, is developing our mobile exhibits for our steamroller program. So then we could do events on our main floor with the fact that we can't do the entire Science Center right away. That Science Center, we're still working on securing our exhibit designer, but right now, because of the demand of science centers and the manufacturing of exhibits, Boss Displays is the company that we're looking at for our water table. It's the same company that Bismarck Gateway to Science has used, and we partner with the other centers and museums across the state. We actually developed a collaborative group, so all of our directors of these centers now meet and talk every other month. Just to order that water table, which even for that, we're looking at funding through additional sources, potential water board. And that's a $130,000 exhibit for that water table. It's a 16-foot beautiful table where kids can learn and dam the water and watch how the flow changes and ebbs. There's a miniature little hurricane simulator and the balls that shoot up in the water and down, and you can watch them, and it's always a well-loved exhibit. But even from the time that we pay for that exhibit to the time that it's actually delivered and installed, we're looking at 18 to 24 months. That's the wait time with that company currently. So in order for the Science Center to happen, we know that's at least 3 years out likely. And so that's why we were so comfortable leasing the basement of the building to bring in that additional income. And we will still look at potential other tenants for that space, knowing that we will have that available, because it's knowing we can't get those exhibits in very quickly. The long-term plan is for that to be a beautiful science center. And so we're going to work on some of those mobile exhibits. We already have collaborated with someone from the NDSU Extension Center who's looking at a natural sciences exhibit or soil exhibit for the mobile project. There's been other entities who are interested in helping develop these. This is fun for them. So we thought that's a great place to start. We will start our STEM programming though with different events. Like we'll work on a Super Saturday fun event for kids. Until we have the building more solidified with classrooms, we can't do much more than that until those classrooms are renovated. But we're gonna do what we can in the interim.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna make a motion that we would give $80,000 our ARPA funds for this, towards this program. The motion, I'd look for a second.
Can we jump right to discussion first?
If I get a second, we can do that.
Can second for discussion purposes, I guess.
For discussion purposes, I would second that.
Okay, we'll move to the discussion then.
So $80,000 with the intent that would be for salary for the director of the center?
That was what their request was for his.
Okay. So that gets us through 1 year, right?
Right. Gets them their foot in the door.
Yeah. And you believe that you can somehow sustain yourself going into the second year, you'll be able to get that, okay.
I guess I really, really struggle. We've got so many other projects coming up. I look at this as a special interest group, which anybody that comes to us with special interest. Personally, one of my soft spots in my heart is theater, and having a small theater where people can do plays and little concerts and stuff. But that would also be a special interest, and I would not look for the county to give money to that. I think it's a benefit to the city to give this type of money to them. I really struggle making that contribution.
It's a great point, Bernie. Can you hear, where is the city? What, have they stepped up? Where's the city in this whole process? What are they pledged? Okay. Okay. Okay.
So here's what I would like answered first before we act on a motion like this, is that, and too bad Natalie's not here, but to become property tax exempt, you would initiate this conversation with the city. There are 4 or 5 political subdivisions that all have to sign off, correct? So the city, the fire district, the park and rec, us, the county, whoever else is there, weed board maybe. I think that would be a contribution that we could look at. I hate these quick, and not that I'm opposed to it, I just hate these quick asks, and then, you don't have time to think, oh, I wish I'd asked that question. So, under the current format, I want this to be successful, and I would look for things that.
Absolutely, we do.
Yeah, so I would look for things we can do, but I kind of echo what Bernie said, is that, maybe we figure something else out here, and if not, we have a fallback to come to this. You probably don't need this. I know you got the director hired. If we'd have a little time to digest that, I'd feel much more comfortable, so.
Go ahead.
Yes, and we made sure that we have 6 months reserve so that we can make our payment to the Fongs and to pay this full-time person. We can't move forward with the capital campaign, and all of us agreed that we all have full-time jobs, and we can't continue to do this where that would be his job. His job basically would be to make the money, pay off the $1 million loan that we owe yet, and keep this running. And that's a big project for one person. We still have volunteers that'll come in and run the gallery, at certain times of the day, or even the store. I think we can get enough volunteers for that. We want to be the backbone. I don't want to be the full-time employee anymore. And keep feeding it. I think it's an 8-county project. It's going to be wonderful for the city. We are stepping up to be part of the Thursday night Legacy Square events this summer. And all of the other things they do, I can't do. I'm not, but I can show up, and I can participate. And that's what we're asking, basically. Let us get up and get going, and maybe we don't have to come back and ask again for more money. Maybe this is it for now, just to get going. And I understand Bernie's concerns, but knowing the people that are on this board, we're not going to fail.
Another thing is, to reassure you that that the renovation on top is going to be a very large classroom, but we also envision a place for small piano recitals, for small children theater, we would like to be there for all the arts as well as the visual arts.
Music is art.
Mm-hmm. Music is absolutely.
Any other discussion?
I think it would be interesting also to see what the other counties are going to help out as well, and so only comment.
Any other comments? Discussion?
So that 80,000 is for 1 year, right?
Right.
And that'll year 2024 going into 2025, 6 weeks into 2025.
We'd be taking out of the ARPA funds for now is what I suggested.
I mean, we always have other places we can use the ARPA funds too, though.
Any other discussion?
I would make a motion, we table this till we get some feedback from other counties.
Would you vote on the first motion first, though?
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't,
we can have some-
I don't know how that works, but
The first, okay, we're gonna vote on the motion.
If I could add one more thing, we did receive money from the Fair Association in Dunn County, and they gave us $10,000 several months ago. So we are on the road to that.
Okay, I'll move forward on the first motion then. I vote aye. And Commissioner Claris,
Aye.
Commissioner Messer,
no.
Commissioner White,
No.
Commissioner Marsh.
No,
Denies. Then you had another motion.
Well, I'd like to see this come back to us in 60 days, 90 days. I'm assuming your group will have made the rounds and we'll have a little better feel. Plus, I'll have a little more time to digest what was given to us today. I'd be more comfortable with that.
yes.
I don't want to say no. I just, at this point, based on the information we have, that's where I'm at. So, thanks.
Okay, thanks for your presentation then. We'll move on to the next. I think we're gonna take a break until 11:30. Next, do the City of Belfield abatement. Morning.
Good morning. Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners, thank you for seeing me here today. I'm just here to visit about some properties that were abated and they were sold. And in the past, they'd come back to the city to have first crack at them, some of the properties. And that would help us recoup costs that we had into them. And maybe these did and we missed them, I don't know that, but there was 4 lots, 2 of them the city sold. There was 3 buildings that were tore down. Public, we had them abandoned, and it was due to public health issues with these buildings were so decrepit. So we got a bid and we tore it down, tore all 3 of them down. And the properties, 2 of the properties were sold at an auction, I believe, the county, when they abated them.
Right.
And so when they sell them, I think they went for like roughly $2,500 a lot. And the lots that the city sold that are married or right beside these 2, I think we sold them for like $11,750. Not to say we would have got it for these 2, but my question was, you know, and I don't know century code if should they come back to the city first, or does the county just abate them out? But in the past, I'd seen them be offered to the city first. And then we can recoup mowing fees. People aren't paying their water bills, special assessment taxes, things like that, that maybe the county doesn't see all of that. And so if we get them offered back, we can, and maybe we never recoup all of it, but we still get part of it back. So I just wanted to visit today about that. I do have a handout. I didn't know I could had the auditor come. I see earlier that Taylor said that their auditor.
Oh.
I wasn't smart enough to do that.
We want to see you.
Yeah.
I did have Connie print something out, and this is just based on those properties that were sold and what we have into them because of the tear down and the property that was sold.
So just to go back through the history of this a little bit, Jeff. To go back through the history of this, you have some properties, old buildings, you have a tenant, you have an out-of-state tenant or owner, right, property owner, unresponsive to your, so they don't pay their taxes, they're unresponsive, you actually tried to get in contact with them, that they needed to tear this building down because it had been condemned and it's basically a nuisance or a hazard to the health of your citizens, right?
Correct.
So, no response from them, so you're basically stuck with this garbage in the middle of your town.
And so we did meet with Mel Zent and got Mel involved and had Mel issue the letters. And so there's documentation that they were reaching out. And we have some other properties, we're trying to clean up, same thing in town. One that walked away, froze up, filled the basement full of water. I think it's a $10,000 water bill and water and sewer together by the time we get things ironed out. So that's one that's on the docket to get cleaned up next. But this one was tore down, I think, in 17. All 3 of the buildings. But the grocery store was the largest. The Caps grocery store was, of course, you got coolers and refrigerators and everything else that goes with it, big hole and a big basement to fill in. So anyway, we had that all cleaned up. And the main thing I just wanted to bring to light was, or if moving forward, is that the way to go about it? Is it right to offer them to the city first? That's what we used to do. Doesn't mean that's century code.
I wanted to notice that the notice was sent to the city on October 26th of 2023. Apparently you didn't get that, or?
Oh, okay, that could be, yeah, I didn't get it. And that's for the 2 that they sold?
Yeah, there was listed, they were on the list, we had to.
For a
the list.
public notice?
They're public
Okay.
notice, and then the minimum value was on there, so, apparently you didn't get that, I take it.
Apparently not. In the past, I think they would just mail it, let us know, and then for a dollar amount, it was offered to the city, and the city would just buy those lots.
I think I can answer your question, Jeff, and that is, in the past, way past, it was common practice, not required, that when a property came back to the county via the tax deed, that the county would turn around and offer it to the municipality for the basically administrative fee of $50, and then the city could say yes or say no. Part of the, and I kind of brought this to a head several years ago, where there would be thousands and thousands of dollars of delinquent taxes, and there might be some value in that property. We would dispose it for 50, and then the city of Belfield, let's say there was 6,000 in delinquent taxes, you know, you would get it for 50 and turn around and sell it for 4,000. Then the thought was we were doing the disservice to the entire community, taxpayers of the county, you know, by doing it that way. And so we started retaining some of those, because you would get, when the funds would come in, you would get abated your portion of those taxes. In your case, in this particular case, I think you have a valid concern, because the building was stand, you condemn it, and nothing happens, and you tear it down while it's in default, or the third or fourth year of default on tax. It comes back to us, and without notice, we turn around and sell the property, and you have that bill where you potentially could have put us on notice, put that out there, and we could have figured that out. We're just doing kind of the same thing over in Richardson. So I feel your pain, I guess, is what I'm saying. So.
Yeah, and you know, I'm not, you know, that was then and this is now. I don't know, like I said, what century code reads, what's the correct process, and maybe, you know, what you did, and we missed the ball, not seeing that public notification, and should have raised our hand bidding on it to help recoup, and then sell it to help recoup our.
So the notification that is sent out is to tell, is to hear any objections from any member or representative of any taxing district body regarding the minimum price determined on the delinquent tax properties. And then it gives you the date that hearing is held. And then it shows the delinquent taxes on the property, the legal description, which I go in and add in parentheses which city it's applicable to, and then the minimum values that is being presented at that meeting. So that's like the notice that is sent out. And I think that the one that you're referring to, up until Neil in 2021, we did offer all the parcels back to the cities at, usually it's $1, because we just want them back on the tax roll.
Right.
And then there was some legislative changes, and it was said that it would be up to the commission to authorize to offer them back to the cities. And so it used to just be an automatic thing.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of changed in 2021.
Okay.
And so all I can do is send the notice, and then,
Yeah, and then we would show up, a representative of the city, to the auction.
or even call in. It's just for the public hearing that we had at 10 a.m.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, or even just send a letter or something saying this is our concerns with that property. I just didn't receive.
Because it's communication between the
anything.
city and the county, so that you know.
And I email it to the city's email address.
Okay.
So that's where I've been sending them, because sometimes people don't get mail, and then I know it's been sent.
Then
So,
auditors would get it, and
yeah, I send it to the auditor.
yeah. And so, you know, I just wanted to bring it to light. I didn't understand in the past, we'd seen them, you know, like I said, and this one was different, and.
Well, I think this is, excuse me, I think in a lot of cases, this is similar to what we just did over in Richardson, with the exception of that we did the demolition after the fact, you did the demolition before the fact. And so I certainly would be willing to participate in demolition costs in this regard, because you guys actually did the work. So I don't know if you have an ask in that regard. I would certainly want to
Yeah,
listen to that.
He provided this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
All right.
that's what we come up with for an ask, and Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners, you know, whatever you can help with. I don't ask it today. If you want to mull it over, that's fine too, but the reason the city took it upon themselves to tear it down and not just pass it back to the county because of the health hazard it was. It was in shambles, and you probably all got the pictures of them. Okay, so, and there was pigeons, and there was just all kinds of problems. So it definitely needed to be attacked, and so we just moved forward and cleaned it up otherwise. And I don't know, I still think that's the best. If a community can get it out of the way so you don't have any hazard first, but.
Yeah, I hate to see that you guys get penalized for being proactive.
Yep.
And I don't like seeing the county holding the bag or the city's holding the bag on stuff like this, but I know properties go back and we just gotta deal with it. But, just part of being in the process so that, there's communication between us, and then, we can reach out and say, hey, this is what we got against the property.
And realistically, if the city of Belfield hadn't tore it down, we would have got it back and we would have got to tear it down.
Yep.
So it was just a
Yep.
matter of who paid the bill at the time.
Right.
So,
I would make the motion to, if there's no further discussion on this, I'd make the motion to reimburse the city of Belfield for $30,394.83 to cover the costs of their tear down of those buildings.
Can you add into your motion to pay it out of the general fund miscellaneous account?
Okay, and those funds to be coming out of the general fund miscellaneous account.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second. Any other discussion?
Chair, can I offer something? That 30,000 wasn't all Belfield specials. That 30,000 was specials and all of the taxes, the county taxes. So if you reimburse them this 30,000, you're gonna be reimbursing them all of the taxes that were also due. If that makes sense.
Which we paid the taxes.
Cause the specials were 24 some odd $1,000, right? And then
It's-
the remaining $7,000
this?
was
You see
taxes that were due. No,
The question I would have, Lana, is I'm assuming that the specials moved forward with the new purchaser or no?
No,
They did
not
not.
my understanding. But the
No.
properties beside it that the city sold when they come back, whatever years ago, those people assumed the special assessments.
Got it. Got it. Okay.
So, actual demolition costs, because you reduced the price of the demolition by selling those two lots. So 26,250, is that a more accurate number that we're looking at here?
well, I see that this includes like mowing and other things that probably weren't part of the specials. Is that true? That weren't
It was
in
put
our
on the taxes,
specials?
but it wasn't part of the street specials. So those specials were a street project when they redid Main Street. That's what that special assessment is. That's what was left on that. And the mowing was just what we had against it, keeping that lot clean, mowing and cleaning it up.
And that would have been on you anyway, right? Correct? On the city of Belfield?
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, we would put it against their
So-
taxes that,
So are we looking at 26,250 rather than 33,94.83?
Well, my only question is if we'd have got the lot, if we get the property, well, you might be right. I'm just thinking if we own the property, right now when we drive around, we mow those lots. So,
but the special assessments just on the streets, for instance, those, I don't know when the county, could those have been put onto that buyer at the time?
So the amount that was abated out by the commission on that property was $30,515.26, and that was at the December 5th meeting. So that was the amount that we actually abated out after that property sold.
so I think what Paul's looking for is what is the number that would reimburse Belfield for demolition, specials, mowing and cleaning, less proceeds.
I think it's 28,700. So you take the 26,000, you add you don't add this, or you add the specials of the 2450, or no?
I have the tax statements
Okay.
from 20, 21, and 22. And them are the 3 years we abated out. Sorry, I got a bad cold. The special assessments for 20 were $24,001.47. Yep, sorry, can't breathe right now. And then the specials for 21 were $153.50, and the same for 22. So I guess if we're gonna reimburse them what we abated out, that should be the total. I would think. Because that's what we actually tax them on their tax statements. So I don't know what the list of, does that make sense to you?
Just looking for a number.
Yes, that's all I'm too.
That's all I want.
What's that?
Just looking for a number.
Okay, I don't have a calculator with me, but if you take the 2401,
It's 24,307, right?
153.50 special.
But that's what was abated, so that was what the county actually would have been drawing in, correct?
Right, with the
So what
30,000.
I'm after is demolition.
Yep.
Demolition, the mowing we had against it, and the specials that probably should have went against. I don't know how that process works, but when you sold those lots, they should have assumed those specials. I'm assuming this.
Okay.
And so that's what we're asking is just the,
I think your original motion covers
Yeah,
it.
Yeah, I
that's
think
what-
I think so. I think you can just,
I think I'm standing on my original motion.
There you go.
Okay, a motion to have a second.
I think we had a
I
second.
got a
Got a
second.
second? Okay, any other discussion? Roll call vote, and Commissioner Clares.
Aye.
Commissioner Masser.
Aye.
Commissioner White.
Aye.
Commissioner Marsh.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carried.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for seeing me today.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff.
And I'll let Connie know just to stay in touch too.
yeah, she's usually really good about it. Maybe she just was out when I sent that notice. Yeah.
Maybe it's sitting in the junk folder.
Next to do the radar service contract renewal.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Lana Decker with Emergency Management, here to answer any questions you might have.
So this contract is our annual, right?
Yeah, we've been supporting the radar since 2011, along with 8 other counties, and historically, it's remained at $4,000, so no increase, decrease.
So it's the same as last year?
Yep.
Okay.
If there's no questions, then I look for a motion to approve the radar contract.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the radar service contract for the year 2024 with the Atmospheric Resource Board, and between the Atmospheric Resource Board and Stark County.
And I'd second that.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. You can do the tuition.
I think I got 4 things on the
You
agenda,
got
so
a
I'll
few
just
things?
stay up here.
Okay. We can go ahead to are you doing the Morton County too?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead with that.
In comparison to the last time we had an MOU with Morgan County, which was 2018, according to my records, there's no difference except for the updated contact information of the new emergency manager, Patrick Martin.
Just don't need any approval, it's just an updated contact. That's it, no cost.
There would be a signature that would be required.
Signature for an MOU.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, look for a motion to approve the signing this MOU with Morton County Emergency Management.
I will make
I'll
the
make that
motion.
motion.
Go ahead, Bernie.
Okay, a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
A second. All in favor, state aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carried. Okay. Next, do the tuition reimbursement application.
I can answer any questions on that.
Well, I originally signed her application, and I guess it did ask for some comments or reasons. I think that Elena is well worth the investment. I think this will further establish our credibility of our Stark County Emergency Management Services. So I would be in favor of this and make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion, a second. Any other discussion? Excuse me.
This, Joetta's here, this falls in all the criteria that we've set out for this kind of policy, correct?
Yes, Joetta Piercy, Human Resources Director. I included the policy page there so you could read through it and refresh your memories. But yes, she's eligible for 70% of her semester being reimbursed. So we would also need to know how much you would want to do that. She can get up to $3,000 a year.
Okay. Look for a motion and to approve.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Okay, we have a motion, second. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. And then you're doing the IT contract.
If I can speak on the IT contract if needed.
Just if you want to offer some background on this IT contract. I know we've discussed this publicly just a touch, but just to get everybody out, get it out in the open, what we're planning to do here.
Yeah,
and,
I was approached by the dispatch supervisor, Liz Okerson, and she was just asking if we could maybe move IT services from Consolidated over to Aaron Meyer with the city. He has a wealth of knowledge with the system in place already. Him and his team work out of that building all the time. They provide a 24-hour, 7 days a week service that they could utilize, and then it would keep them up and running. I've been in communication with Aaron. He's got a good plan in place to always have dispatch up and going. If something fails, he's got backups. So I'm very confident that going with Aaron, we would see dispatch in a good place. They've been taken care of by Consolidated, but I think moving to Aaron just kind of, what the setup dispatch has, might serve them a little bit better.
And there's a lot of proximity to this whole thing. I mean, Aaron's in that building a lot to
Yep.
begin with, so, and the whole 24/7 thing is big for dispatch, being a critical service for our county, so. Although, I mean, it does come with a cost. I mean, they're proposing a $5,000 amount, a dollar amount of $5,000 to take care of these services, so we need to be aware of that.
Yep, and this contract would go from 2024 to December of 2027, $5,000 a year, and then we would go back into negotiations if necessary.
Okay.
So that'd be prorated for this year.
No, there starts February 1, right?
Starts February 1 if we sign it today, and then it should go to their commission tonight if we,
Yeah.
But it expires in 31st of the year, so then
No.
of 2027.
It's a 3-year contract.
for 5,000 per year.
Per
or-
year,
Yep.
yes, annually. And actually,
So it expires January 31st of 27. If it starts February 1st?
Yes, we'd have to renew it, yeah, before December 31st.
Okay.
So I would make the motion to approve the IT contract with the city of Dickinson.
I'd second that.
A motion, a second, other discussion? Excuse me. If not, all in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Kurt, you're going to come up next.
Okay, we've discussed home rule various times.
Time I called for Kurt and we're skipping over you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Go warm up the motorcycle.
Sir.
Kurt Freilich, NDSU Extension Agent, Stark Billings County. Just to give you an update on the FCW position, the position that Holly Toohey resigned from back in, I believe it was in November. The position has been out there. We, at NDSU, they've taken applications. So far, there has been 2 applications that did not meet minimum qualifications. So we are still out there. I thought, well, you guys might be asking some questions. I know Paul is, as our portfolio holder, has been kind of in the loop on this, but I thought we would bring it to the rest of you. I did hand you the kind of the job description. If you know somebody, please pass it along. Please tell them to take a look. That's all I have. I just wanted to give you an update. We're currently searching, and it's kind of like any other job field. The candidates are scarce.
So, I mean, just to visit a little bit about it, I mean, we've got an upcoming year of programming coming that Holly would have done. I mean, how do we plan on moving forward with some of that?
We're going to stretch through, Mr. Claris, Commissioner Claris, stretch through some of those particular areas. We get into like she did a lot of stuff with the food preservation area. When we get those kinds of phone calls, we will have to redirect those to people that can answer them. I'm not a food preservation person. You need to know there's some specific things, just like, if I wasn't here and there was calls on chemicals, and Holly was there, she would be unable to answer those, so she would have to redirect those calls to the appropriate people. We'll get through it, but hopefully there is somebody that surfaces sooner than later.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? If not,
You got another one of those?
Yes.
I'm collecting for Bernie since he's out of town.
And Joetta, we still have this on our website, correct?
Yes. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Bernie, you can go ahead now.
Okay, well, home rule's been brought up various times. Hang on here. Anyway, it's been brought up several times, and last time it was brought up was 2 years ago, and we thought it was too late because we have to collect signatures. It's just probably time to do some discussion on it, is something we wanna look forward to doing. The benefits are, a little bit less controlled by the state. We can impose a sales tax. We can control some of the elected positions. Look at county administrator. We just heard Taylor's issues with their water issues, and I think Southern has that. Bellfield's got an issue with their lift stations. Every little community in our county has issues. So, if we would ever need to help them, we would almost have to, get tax money from somewhere. So, a 1% sales tax imposed by the county, covering the whole state, whole county, and then we would take, requests for grants, to help with these infrastructure, problems that are gonna be coming up more and more often. If we don't help these small communities, nobody's gonna live in them, and it's gonna be a bigger burden on us as a county. So if this is something we wanna pursue on an election year and a vote, or if something that we should have probably done on a special vote, but just opening it up to get you guys' opinion on it.
Anybody else have any comment?
Well, I think conceptually, home rule is a good thing. I think if you check around, Bellfield's got home rule sales tax. If you check around to the political subs that have done this, historically, home rule comes with something else. It's not, you just typically don't come in and do home rule. So I'd be interested in that listening to that. The example that Karen sent out on Walsh County, I know there was others in there.
I did not get that.
Huh?
I did not get that.
It was in the original email.
In the original packet?
No, in the original email on home rule.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Gotcha.
anyway, when I look at the Walsh County one, I think that what jumps out to me is that there's 10 or 11 powers that are mentioned and authorized in home rule. And to a certain point, we have most of those already. What we don't have that they do is, like Bernie mentioned, the appointment of of an auditor, the appointment of, they actually have they have another one, treasurer and the state's attorney. And then you can do ordinances, and then you can do fees and schedules. And so on a standalone basis, I'm not there where we need to do it right now. I think it would be something to consider, but if we're gonna do it, I think we have to have a reason we're doing it. And with the present proposition of elimination of property tax, I think this concept probably at this point is not, to me, not, you know.
It's probably not gonna be a good time, but I mean, when will it be a good time? I think there's 13 counties that have it in place. I mean, either or, it was just the time, now is the time to be discussing it, probably should have done it a year ago.
Well,
But now's the time, if we're gonna do anything with it, if not, then it's just out of the way and we don't have to worry about it.
and that's potentially true. I don't disagree with that. Where I would potentially add to that is if the property tax gets eliminated, home rule is a mandated necessity. We're going to have no choice, right? So I think we should have discussion, get feedback accordingly. But I guess my point is, people are going to perceive that home rule means additional taxes, and that's.
Only if they vote to have the taxes. Yeah, we can't just impose a tax without the people's vote.
I get it, but what I'm saying is, like, for example, when the city of Dickinson did home rule, it was accompanied by a second ballot measure that implemented the 1% sales tax.
Right. Now would not be the time to put in that,
Well,
put them together on the
Yeah,
ballot.
right, and we wouldn't, I don't think we need that at this point, but if the property tax measure passes, then that's another conversation, I think.
Right. But then again, we're behind the ball again at that point.
Yeah, maybe. How long does it take to get a measure on the ballot? Do you know?
Well, we'd have to do probably a special election then at that point, otherwise we gotta collect signatures to get it on this next ballot, on this next election.
Right, but I guess my question to Karen, the election officer, is
Okay.
is it 60 days, 90 days? It's one of those numbers. I don't know what it is.
I want to say for it to be, you mean, well, I mean, the entire charter is going to have to be done. So,
Yeah.
at least 60 days. Here's where you have submission of charter to electors is at least 60 days, but no more than 2 years after submission of the charter to the Board of the County Commissioners. And then the proposed charter must be submitted to a vote of the qualified electors of the county at a primary or general election. It doesn't say anything about no special election.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So the
Well,
process is.
it says if the proposed charter has been submitted to a vote of the qualified electors of the county, the Board of County Commissioners may call a special election. That's the next sentence, to resubmit the proposed charter to a vote of the qualified electors of the county. And then the special election must take place at least 60 days after the call for the special election.
If it's been proposed,
Yeah, it's like the next sentence. And that's in that statute.
So, just to be clear, we don't actually have to have a petition to put this on the ballot. The county commission themselves can put it on the ballot,
it's
correct?
two ways. It's either the petition of the 2% of the county's population. So that's why I sent out that number. I think it was close to like 700,
So
right?
what-
700 addresses, or the county commission can put it.
And the idea would be most likely to, if you're gonna put it on the ballot, the charter would accompany it, which it sounds to me like the charter itself is where the work really is. You'd have to appoint a commission, and you have to, I mean, there's a lot to consider in a charter. So, it's not it's not as just simple as putting it on the ballot. I don't think you have to.
No, I understand there's a lot of paperwork and legwork that has to go with it. But it is an election year, so.
Any other discussion? Okay, you got anything else, Bernie, or?
That's just it, I just
Okay.
wanted to know what kind of a, feeling there is from the other commissioners, just if that's something that we should be pursuing or not.
Okay, Any other discussion then? I guess we'll move on to the next item. Got Regional Livestock Development and Planning Grant. Do we have anybody on the phone from Roosevelt Custer? I had Mr. Joseph's reach out to them. I wanted them to be online, I guess, to answer any questions on it, but I guess I see they're not, they haven't responded to his email, or they're not online either, so I guess if there's a.
Yeah. I think I can speak to this a little bit. It's been passed within the council. And this last legislative session, there was a push in the legislature. They passed some legislation to promote, livestock operations, dairies, feedlots, those kind of things. And it seemed that there was a lot of pushback. Typically when an application come from and we're down, like I said, from dairy operations in the state, we're down to almost nothing. And so the legislature decided through the state ag department to try to promote those kind of things, do some interdevelopment. And what this is allows for a planning grant for regions and counties to go through that. So it's an authorization to engage to go ahead and get a grant to do analysis of land zoning and land use regulations, and make that available a little more seamless.
Okay, any other discussion on that, or? Mr. Joseph, do you have any comment on that?
Good afternoon, Commissioner. Steve Josephson, County Planner. And yeah, I saw this, and I think that any study can be helpful. What I would say to Roosevelt Custer, and I don't know if they get these grants to go out, hire a consultant, or however they're going to do the studies, is the county is currently doing updating its comprehensive plan. I know that when I read the email from Roosevelt Custer, a lot of the information that they talked about, getting for their study, it's information that's being compiled right now by our consultants as part of the comprehensive plan update. So that will be available. I think we do have Taryn Dorr, who is acting as the executive director for Roosevelt Custer, is on our steering committee, and we'd really like, if they're going a next step and doing a planning study for feedlots, commercial, the commercial feedlots that they work with us now to make sure that whatever studies they come up jibe with whatever our comprehensive plan, comes up with.
This doesn't allow for the planning study. This allows for a development and planning grant. And we have a meeting on Thursday, and I'll get that clarified. But I think what this does is it gets done what you're trying to accomplish, which is move these potential commercial applications forward, and yet recognize that the local land use boards, zoning boards are in there, but this grant would allow for information to flow to those boards.
Right, but from what I saw of the study, the ultimate thing that would come out would be a study that would identify potential sites for those operations, classifying them as good, better, and best. So it sounds like there's going to be some, there's, I don't know if it's going to be a list or if it's going to be a map, but, I did see that as part of the email, and I did go online and read the grant, the grant from the Department of Agriculture. But, certainly we would encourage them to work with us as if they do get these grants. But I would also encourage them to participate now, which we have asked. We do have Taryn Dorr is a member of the advisory committee for the comp plan.
Okay, any other discussion?
I would move we authorize for the resolution for the regional council and planning grant be signed by our chair.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Next, Joetta, you want to?
Joetta Piercy, Human Resources Director. I'm here on behalf of the IT Committee. We were discussing how to access our network and all the security, and it came about that we didn't really have a written policy on this. So this is what you see in front of you, is how people are granted access to our network.
I guess I would just follow, I mean, just to give a little background, I mean, this policy follows basically, you know, I think the IT committee has placed great importance on our cybersecurity, so this is a big part of that. We've worked with Consolidated, and they've given us these recommendations, so I'd be in favor of this policy.
Any other discussion? I'd look for a motion to approve the policy then.
I'd make that motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any other discussion? All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Next, we got LEC repairs. You had some question on?
Yes. So it has been discussed briefly, but we have been working with Central Mechanical out of Bismarck to give us a bid to repair our sewer lines. Over at the LEC, we've had some wrecks over there. The sheriff's department can probably tell you all about that, but anyway, we've repaired that. But the long story short is that, and this building has been in need of some major TLC for quite some time, and we asked for some bids, and we ended up only getting one contractor, unfortunately, and they came up with some options. We currently have a bid on the table for $345,000 to basically repair all the domestic water piping within the second floor, is where, you know, where the problems really are as far as, you know, when it will affect the building. So the LEC board itself has a capital improvement fund, which Stark County contributes to every month, and along with SWMC, and we have found, and on top of, you know, this large project, you know, we also have some needs for the year 2024. We have pared down our list considerably as far as repairs, but we still have a few repairs that probably have some priority for us. So we find ourselves in about a $50,000 minimum shortfall with the amount bid and the amount we have in our capital improvements fund. And we also, well, I shouldn't say that, $50,000, yeah, including a few projects that we have about a $50,000 shortfall. Now, that shortfall doesn't take into account any potential contingencies with this plan to open up the plumbing chases and replace all the domestic water piping over at the LEC. Right now, that's a big unknown. It's kind of Pandora's box. You have, you know, really no idea how bad this is going to be when we get into it and into the extent. But so we really don't have much room for contingencies currently. So I guess what I'm asking for is to be able to transfer funds from which fund number, Karen?
I would say our current actual special projects fund / jail fund that we levy out of.
Okay.
And we transferred 500,000 over into.
Yep.
That was kind of in anticipation of this is what's to come.
Yes.
So I would do
from
the
that fund
50,000.
From that fund to transfer that to the LEC Capital Improvement Fund. And we actually haven't accepted this bid from Central. It's been kind of contingent. We obviously don't want to extend ourselves here and make agreements with people unless we have the actual funds to pay for it. So we also have a meeting. SWMC board has a meeting next Monday to ask for the exact same amount to be transferred over into this LEC Capital Improvement Fund. So the bid has not been accepted. It'll be contingent upon us, you know, gathering up these funds. So that is my motion to transfer $50,000 from that capital or that jail board fund. Jail fund, is that what we're gonna call it?
2720?
It's Jail Capital Projects Fund. Yeah.
Jail Capital Projects Fund, 2720 to the LEC Board Capital Improvement Fund.
Okay, a motion to have a second. Have a second. Any other discussion? Roll call vote, then Commissioner Claris,
Aye.
Commissioner Marsh, Commissioner White,
Aye.
Commissioner Messer.
Aye.
The chair votes aye, motion carried. Is there anything else that I missed?
I think we should probably at some point have some conversations about a temporary relocation of the sheriff's department during that work,
We had some
which is gonna be very messy.
Yeah, we have had some discussion about that. I mean, the process that we're fixing to start over there is gonna work itself towards the sheriff's department, and then when we're doing that phase of the project, the sheriff's department will probably, those folks will probably not have a place to work. So we're gonna need to look for some temporary space during that time. So we look for some suggestions, some opportunities out there. I don't know where they're at, but, we're gonna, and I suspect that's probably gonna be, probably third quarter, hopefully. Third quarter of, 24, so no time like the present to start looking for some temporary space.
Especially if you're gonna be short-term. That's a tough occupancy to find.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I've got a barn you can use.
I'd certainly help, but I'm just saying, you drive around,
Wait, I
as
think
much as
Al's
I do.
about to offer.
You know what? You could rent a basement for the art center to help them out for a while.
There we go.
I was gonna say that too.
Anything else? Anything for the public?
Probably don't wanna leave that.
One thing, you're gonna be receiving, everyone will be receiving an invite. The North Dakota County Commission Association is having a county summit on, March 19th and 20th. You may have already seen it. There's a bunch of interesting topics. It's kind of the mid-year, informative meeting, so if you want to participate, react to that, I think Karen would be registering most of us. It's just gonna go out here in the next day or two, you'll get it, Karen. So.
I'll get the note. You said I'll get the notice and the link.
Register.
You ready, did they already notify
I
us?
saw it, it came through my email, I already
Oh,
registered
okay.
for it. Yeah.
Okay, so, there you go.
And where is it?
It's in Bismarck, Bernie. The 19th, it's the evening of the 19th of March and all day on the 20th.
If there will be a quorum present, though, please let me know so I can at
will be.
least put a
Yeah.
notice on there.
I think that meeting in itself qualifies as a notice or
A
something.
commission meeting.
Well, as notice, because it's a state notice or something. I don't know the technical parts.
Okay, go ahead.
Commissioners, thank you for letting me speak. Jeff Fitzik with Southwest Patriots Coalition, Stark County resident. Just wanted to make you guys aware and the public aware too, especially as the election year comes up, that Southwest Patriots Coalition at every one of our meetings provides an opportunity for any person running for election to stand up and present themselves to the public for at least 5 minutes. And so this is open to any incumbents, any people throwing their hat in the ring for the first time. We have a meeting tonight. We're at the Dickinson Eagles Club. Our guest speaker tonight is Kildare's Mayor Joel Spetzman. And then we also have Dr. Marcus Luton stopping by to give an update on the new high school renovation process. Our meeting following tonight is going to be on March 5th at 7 o'clock on Tuesday at the Dickinson Eagles Club. And we've got North Dakota Auditor Josh Gallion speaking at that one. And then we also have a meeting on April 16th, again a Tuesday at 7 o'clock at the Eagles Club with Public Service Commissioner Randy Chrisman speaking at that one. And I'm booking out into May and June as we speak. So during this election year, I urge everybody in the public who's listening and for yourselves who are running, you're always welcome to stop by. Southwest Patriots is about education for the public in politics, information for the public in politics, and participation. And so that's our participation portion. So feel free to come by. And I would like to add also, I was a little saddened especially since it was brought up here tonight, or today again. We did have the chairman of the property tax petition, Rick Becker, just a couple of months ago. And while we had several area legislators there, the sole municipal or county elected official that we had present at the meeting was Sheriff Lee. And it would have been a wonderful opportunity for everybody, as the legislators did, to question him directly as to his vision on how that was going to work and so forth, since that's a critical issue at the county and municipal levels. So we have lots of good stuff if you guys can make it. So thank you. Any questions? We also live stream, and if you want to go back and see what Mr. Becker had, for example, that's all archived. We're at Facebook. I'm not on it. Other volunteers take care of that. But it's at Facebook, Southwest Patriots Coalition. And so all of our previous meetings are live streamed there or recorded there, so you can see it or as a live stream. So any other questions? Thank you for reminding me of that.
Okay.
I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
A motion, to have a second. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Thank you.
When I read this right here, Amanda. Amanda, you're killing me. You're killing me. And I'm like, what did she read that I didn't read?